Right now, as you watch this, there is a machine flying through the darkness more than 15 billion miles from Earth. It is older than most of the people alive today. It was built with less computing power than the phone in your pocket, by engineers using slide rules and paper, and it is still working. It has crossed into interstellar space, the void between the stars, and it is still faithfully calling home. Its name is Voyager 1, and it is the most distant human-made object in the history of our species. This is the story of how a fragile little spacecraft from the 1970s became humanity's farthest reach into the universe, and why, long after we are all gone, it may be the last thing that proves we were ever here at all. The story begins with a once-in-a-lifetime accident of the heavens. In the 1970s, scientists realized that the outer planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, were about to line up on the same side of the Sun in a way that happens only about once every 175 years. A spacecraft launched at exactly the right moment could use the gravity of each planet to slingshot itself to the next, visiting all of them in a single grand tour. It was a cosmic opportunity too good to miss. So NASA built two probes, Voyager 1 and Voyager 2, and launched them in the late summer of 1977. Voyager 1 lifted off on the 5th of September, riding a rocket into the sky on a journey that, astonishingly, has never ended. Its first great act was at Jupiter. In 1979, Voyager 1 swept past the largest planet in our solar system and sent back images that rewrote the textbooks. It revealed the swirling, storm-torn detail of the Great Red Spot, a hurricane wider than the entire Earth. And it discovered something nobody expected. On Jupiter's moon Io, Voyager spotted active volcanoes erupting into space, the first time we had ever seen volcanic activity anywhere beyond our own planet. A machine the size of a small car had just shown us that the universe was far stranger and more alive than we had dared to imagine. Then came Saturn. In 1980, Voyager 1 reached the ringed planet, and here it made a fateful choice that would shape its entire destiny. Mission planners wanted a close look at Titan, Saturn's largest moon, which was wrapped in a thick, mysterious atmosphere. Getting that close-up meant bending Voyager's path in a way that flung it up and out of the flat plane of the solar system. It would never visit Uranus or Neptune. That task was left to its twin, Voyager 2. Instead, Voyager 1 was set on a new and lonelier course, aimed at the edge of everything, pointed toward the vast emptiness beyond the planets. It traded more discoveries for a one-way ticket into the unknown. But before it left the planets behind for good, it did something that had nothing to do with science, and everything to do with what it means to be human. In 1990, at the gentle urging of the astronomer Carl Sagan, NASA commanded Voyager 1 to turn its camera around and look back, all the way back toward home. From around 6 billion kilometers away, it took a photograph of the Earth. In that image, our entire world, every person who has ever lived, every war, every love story, every empire, appears as a single, almost invisible speck of light, smaller than a pixel suspended in a sunbeam. We call it the pale blue dot. Sagan said it best. That dot is here. That is home. That is us. It remains one of the most humbling images ever captured. Voyager also carries a message, in case anyone or anything is ever out there to receive it. Bolted to the side of each probe is a golden record, a phonograph disc plated in gold, designed to last for 1 billion years. On it, a committee led by Carl Sagan placed the sounds and images of our world. There are greetings spoken in 55 languages. There is the sound of rain, of a heartbeat, of a mother's kiss. There is music from Bach to Chuck Berry. It is a message in a bottle, thrown into the cosmic ocean, a fragile attempt to say, we were here, we existed, and this is what we were like. Voyager may drift for billions of years, and that record may be the only obituary our species ever has. For decades after Saturn, Voyager 1 simply flew, outward and outward, through the cold and the dark, faster than any other object we have ever sent into space, at around 17 kilometers every single second. And then, on the 25th of August 2012, it crossed a threshold no human-made thing had ever crossed before. It passed beyond the heliosphere, the great bubble of particles and magnetic field blown out by our sun, and entered interstellar space, the true space between the stars. For the first time in history, something built by human hands was sailing in the ocean between suns. Voyager 1 had entered interstellar space, the medium between the stars. It had not yet left the solar system entirely, because the distant cloud of comets at the sun's edge will take tens of thousands of years to clear. But it had become, in the most literal sense, an interstellar spacecraft. What makes this almost unbelievable is how it keeps going. Voyager has no solar panels because out there sunlight is far too faint to be useful. Instead, it is powered by the slow, steady heat of decaying plutonium, a nuclear battery that has been quietly fading since 1977. Every year it generates a little less power, about 4 watts less, and so, one by one, the engineers have had to switch off its instruments and heaters to keep the most important systems alive. It is like watching a marathon runner, after running for nearly 50 years, carefully deciding which muscles to rest in order to take just a few more steps. Every watt is precious. Every command is a negotiation with a dying machine that refuses to quit. And it does refuse to quit, sometimes against all odds. In late 2023, something went wrong. Voyager 1 suddenly began sending back gibberish, a meaningless, repeating pattern instead of the science and engineering data its team depended on. After 46 years, it seemed the spacecraft might finally have spoken its last coherent word. But the engineers at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory refused to give up on it. They diagnosed the problem from 15 billion miles away, traced it to a single failed memory chip in one of its 3 onboard computers, the Flight Data Subsystem, the unit that packages every piece of data before it is beamed home, and then did something extraordinary. They rewrote and relocated the affected code, beaming the fix across the void. Remember, a radio signal takes around 22 hours just to reach Voyager, and another 22 to come back. And yet, in 2024, the spacecraft came back to life and began sending usable data once again. A team on Earth had reached out across the entire solar system and healed a machine built nearly half a century ago. But this triumph cannot last forever, and the team knows it. Sometime in the 2030s, Voyager's nuclear heart will finally grow too weak to power any instruments at all. One day, we will send a command and hear nothing in return. The conversation that began in 1977 will fall silent, and Voyager will become a ghost, deaf and mute, still coasting outward through the dark. But here is the part that gives the whole story a strange kind of immortality. Going silent is not the same as stopping. Voyager will keep flying. With nothing to slow it down, it will drift on through interstellar space for tens of thousands of years. In around 40,000 years, it will pass relatively close to another star, a quiet, distant sun, carrying its golden record like a sealed letter that may never be opened. Think about what that truly means. Long after the last human voice that ever spoke to it has fallen silent, long after our cities have crumbled, long after the sun itself has swollen and swallowed the Earth billions of years from now, Voyager 1 will very likely still be out there, drifting, intact, a tiny, glittering monument to a curious species that, for one brief and brilliant moment, looked up at the night sky and decided to reach for it. We built it to study the planets. What we actually built was a piece of ourselves that will outlast our entire world. And as long as it sails on through the dark, in some small and beautiful way, so do we.